She walked into the Boston Technology Center wearing blue jeans and a simple gray cardigan, and no one could have guessed who she was. When the attendant at the door said, "Tickets required for spectators," she just smiled. Half an hour later, as the entire hall stood applauding her, the expression on that attendant's face was priceless. The magnificent halls of the Boston Technology Center had been meticulously prepared for the annual International Robotics Competition. The building's expansive glass facade reflected the first rays of the morning sun. Inside, stands filled with the latest technological marvels had been set up. Colorful posters hung. Brilliant students, respected academics, and representatives from technology giants from around the world gathered at this prestigious event. In the entrance hall, a long registration desk had been set up. Behind the desk, young organization staff in black uniforms with professional smiles greeted arrivals. They wore elegant badges that read 15th International Robotics and Artificial Intelligence Competition. At the main entrance of the building, a young man in a black uniform with a serious expression directed visitors. His name was Jason Morris, and he seemed fully aware of the day's importance. Looking at his tablet computer, he identified VIP guests and carefully directed each important guest. "Dr. Reynolds, welcome. The Stanford team is waiting for you," he said, opening the door for an elderly professor. "Mr. Nakamura, the MIT stand is in the right corridor. I can escort you," he directed a Japanese businessman. "Dr. Henderson, the special entrance for jury members is on the left," he said to another guest. Jason took pride in recognizing important figures in the technology world and interacting with them. He was also a computer science student, and working at such events was a valuable experience for him. Occasionally, he received instructions from the organization director, Rachel Simmons. "Jason will have a special welcome for jury president, Dr. Catherine Walker," Rachel had said during the briefing the day before. Dr. Walker, who has been featured on the cover of Time magazine and is the founder of Quantum AI Labs, will arrive at 10 o'clock today. "I want you to direct her straight to the VIP lounge." Jason had nodded. "Of course, I know, Doctor." Walker. Her work in artificial intelligence is revolutionary. I read her book, Evolutionary Learning Algorithms, last semester. Rachel had smiled. "Great. Then you'll recognize Dr. Walker. She's an extremely important guest. Please give her an appropriate welcome." Now Jason was at his post, greeting VIP guests arriving early in the morning. At 9:30, a woman approached the entrance. The woman, who appeared to be in her mid-40s, had her reddish-brown hair tied in a simple ponytail. She wore blue jeans, a plain white t-shirt, and a light gray cardigan. Her face, free of makeup, bore a kind expression. She carried a worn bag on her shoulder. In Jason's eyes, the woman was most likely a student's mother or an ordinary visitor. "Good morning," said the woman, approaching Jason. "Is the 15th robotics competition being held here?" Jason smiled professionally. "Yes, ma'am. The International Robotics and Artificial Intelligence Competition starts today. How can I help you?" "I'd like to enter," the woman said simply. "Excuse me, ma'am," said Jason, preventing the woman from passing by. "Tickets are required for spectators. The general visitor entrance is through the side door." The woman stopped and smiled kindly. "I see," she said in a calm voice. "But I'm actually—" Jason politely cut her off. "I'm sorry, but those are the rules. This area is only for registered participants, jury members, and VIP guests. General spectators without tickets can enter through the side door and watch the event from the visitor's balcony." The crowd waiting behind the woman was growing impatient. A group of students from MIT particularly stood out, all dressed in suits or smart clothes with official competitor ID cards hanging around their necks. The group leader appeared to be Alex Chen, a young, athletic Asian-American student. Beside him were Sarah Johnson, a tall girl with intelligent eyes, and Michael Zhang, a disheveled-haired genius. Alex called from behind the woman. "Could you hurry up? We're running late for registration." The opening ceremony starts at 10 o'clock. As the woman tried to take something out of her bag, Jason grew even more impatient. There were important guests waiting behind, and he didn't want to keep them waiting for an ordinary visitor. "Ma'am, please proceed to the general visitor entrance. Real participants need to pass through here," he said with a slight tone of annoyance in his voice. "Real participants," repeated the woman with a slight smile. Interesting phrase. She finally pulled out a card from her bag. But Jason didn't pay much attention to it. His eyes continued to search for a name on the VIP list behind her. "Look," said Jason, increasing the authoritative tone in his voice. "This competition is one of the most important events in the world of robotics and artificial intelligence. Leaders of major technology companies and famous academics will be here. Even our jury president, Dr. Catherine Walker, hasn't arrived yet. Please use the visitor entrance." Among the MIT students, Sarah Johnson looked at the woman with sympathy. Sarah knew well the difficulties of being a woman in a harsh, male-dominated field. "Maybe I can help," she offered. "I can show you the visitor entrance. It's not far, just on the side of the building." The woman gently shook her head. "That's very kind of you, but I think there's a misunderstanding." She extended the card in her hand to Jason. "I'm Catherine Walker. I'm the jury president." There was a moment of silence. The expression on Jason's face froze, his eyes going from the card to the woman, then back to the card again. The card indeed read Dr. Catherine Walker, jury president, along with the official organization seal. Next to the card was a note stating she had been selected for Time magazine's 100 most influential people in the world list. "Double Dr. Walker?" Jason stammered, his face reddening. "But you, the list said you were coming at 10 o'clock. "I came early," said Dr. Walker simply. "I wanted to see the participants' preparations before the opening ceremony. I like to watch the excitement students show when setting up their projects." Jason was still in shock. He had mistaken one of the biggest names in artificial intelligence for an ordinary visitor and tried to turn her away from the door. "I apologize, Dr. Walker. I didn't recognize you. Usually VIPs are more, well..." "More what, Mr. Morris?" asked Dr. Walker, reading his name tag. There was no anger in her voice, just genuine curiosity. "More formally dressed," Jason finished his sentence, embarrassed. Catherine smiled. "I prefer comfortable clothes, especially for all-day events. Suits and high heels might be great for impressing others, but they're not very practical when evaluating robot algorithms, are they?" Alex, Sarah, and Michael were shocked when they realized who Dr. Walker was. They had all read Evolutionary Learning Algorithms, a work considered a masterpiece in the field of artificial intelligence. And now the author was standing before them, dressed in the most ordinary clothes. "Dr. Walker," said Alex, stepping forward excitedly, "we're the AI Pioneers team from MIT. We've been very impressed by your work, especially your model that bridges genetic algorithms in artificial neural networks." Catherine nodded. "Thank you, Alex. I'm glad you've been following my work. I look forward to visiting your stand." Alex's face lit up. How do you know my name?" Catherine pointed to the name tag on Alex's chest. "I don't need artificial intelligence for that, just being a good observer." Jason frantically reached for his radio. "VIP protocol for Dr. Walker. I need an escort to the jury room immediately." Then he turned to Dr. Walker. "Someone will escort you right away, Dr. Walker." "I apologize again. I'm really embarrassed for keeping you waiting." Catherine nodded politely. "It's no problem, Mr. Morris. We all sometimes make the mistake of judging people by their appearance. What's important is to learn from these mistakes." Just then, organization director Rachel Simmons came running, a worried expression on her face. "Dr. Walker, welcome. We were preparing to greet you. We didn't know you'd come early." Catherine smiled. "It's no problem, Rachel. Mr. Morris has been taking care of me. Now, could I see the jury room? I'd like to review the evaluation criteria." Rachel immediately directed Dr. Walker inside, giving Jason a stern look. The expression of embarrassment on Jason's face showed that he wouldn't forget this incident for a long time. Half an hour had passed. The opening ceremony was about to begin on the main stage of the Boston Technology Center. The hall was completely full. Students, academics, representatives from technology companies, and members of the press waited excitedly. Large screens had been set up on both sides of the stage, alternately displaying the competition logo and sponsors' names. Organization Committee Chairman Dr. Robert Stevens took the stage and picked up the microphone. He was a respected-looking man in his early 60s. With his gray hair and framed glasses, it was clear he was an experienced member of the scientific world. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 15th International Robotics and Artificial Intelligence Competition. He began his speech. His voice was strong and clear, further increasing the excitement in the hall. This year, more than 200 teams from around the world will compete here to showcase technologies that will change our future. Applause rose. The energy in the hall was almost palpable. When we started this competition 15 years ago, with only 20 teams participating, we couldn't even imagine where the fields of robotics and artificial intelligence would reach today, Dr. Stevens continued. Today, these technologies have permeated every aspect of our lives, from healthcare to education, transportation to entertainment. And at the forefront of this transformation are you. Dr. Stevens paced back and forth on the stage as he continued his speech, with images from past competitions displayed on the screens. We have a very special guest with us today, Dr. Stevens continued, with an even more pronounced tone of excitement in his voice. One of the most important names in the field of artificial intelligence, author of Evolutionary Learning Algorithms and the Future of Conscious Systems, selected by Time magazine as one of the 100 most influential people in the world last year, founder of Quantum AI Labs, our jury president, Dr. Catherine Walker. Enthusiastic applause erupted in the hall. Many students and academics rose to their feet. Catherine walked calmly onto the stage, still in the same blue jeans and gray cardigan. The expression on Jason's face, sitting in the special VIP section by the stage, was worth seeing, a mixture of shock and embarrassment. Catherine took the microphone and the hall fell silent. Everyone focused on this legendary figure in the field of artificial intelligence. Thank you, Dr. Stevens, and thank you all for your interest in this event, she said in a calm, confident voice. I'm very excited to see the young minds here today who will shape the future of next-generation technologies. During Catherine's speech, MIT team members Sarah and Alex were whispering to each other. I can't believe it, said Sarah. Dr. Walker is one of the biggest names in artificial intelligence. Her work on artificial neural networks is revolutionary, and we offered to show her the visitor entrance. Alex shook his head. We judged the woman by her appearance. We made a big mistake. But at least we were polite, added Michael from their other side, unlike that security guard at the door. All three looked in Jason's direction. The young man seemed to have shrunk in his seat. Catherine continued her speech. What I love most about this competition is the opportunity to evaluate not just technology, but thought processes as well. True innovation comes from the ability to think outside the box. After a brief pause, she smiled. Today, before coming to the competition, I had an interesting experience. When asked for a ticket, I had to identify myself. At first, I was uncomfortable, but then I realized this was a valuable reminder. We should never judge people by their appearance. There was a slightly uncomfortable stir in the hall. Everyone tried not to look at Jason, but many eyes inevitably drifted toward him. In the world of science and technology, sometimes brilliant ideas come from the most unexpected places, Catherine continued. Some of the artificial intelligence algorithms that have shaken the academic world in recent years came not from Stanford or MIT laboratories, but from a small school in rural India. One of the most important breakthroughs in quantum computing was made by an autodidact with no formal education. Catherine began to pace on the stage, her voice reaching every corner. I grew up in a small town in North Dakota, she said, unexpectedly shifting to a personal note. My father was a farmer, and my mother worked at the local library. I bought my first computer with money I saved, working in a neighbor's field. It was an old Commodore 64. My passion for computer science began back then. The hall was in complete silence, everyone listening attentively. When I entered MIT on a scholarship, many people saw me as a country girl, she continued. My accent, my clothes, my social skills, they all made me different. But I learned this. Difference is the key to innovation. Different perspectives, different life experiences, different ways of thinking. These are what drive us forward. Catherine's eyes scanned the hall, as if she were speaking directly to each person. Our duty as judges in this competition is to find and bring out not just the most brilliant-looking project, but truly innovative thinking. Sometimes the most valuable ideas come in the most unexpected packages. When the speech ended, the hall gave a standing ovation. Jason in his corner seemed to have shrunk, but Catherine's speech seemed to have changed something in him as well. The first day of the competition passed with great energy and excitement. Teams showcased their projects, jury members toured the stands, asked questions, and took notes. Catherine carefully examined each project, giving her full attention even to the youngest participants. At the MIT stand, Alex, Sarah, and Michael enthusiastically presented their project. They called their system the Emotional Learning Model, an artificial intelligence algorithm designed to predict people's emotional responses. Our model can predict a person's emotional state with 94.3% accuracy by analyzing facial expressions, tone of voice, and body language, Sarah explained to Dr. Walker and other jury members. Catherine nodded. Impressive. But how does your model handle cultural differences? You know, emotional expressions can vary from culture to culture. The three students looked at each other. This question had caught them unprepared. This is a factor we haven't fully integrated into our model yet, Alex admitted. Our data set comes predominantly from Western cultures. Catherine wrote something in her notebook. That's an important point. In real-world applications, you'll need to consider how your algorithm will perform in different cultural contexts. After the jury moved away, Sarah sighed. We hadn't thought of that. Dr. Walker is right. Our model doesn't account for cultural diversity. Maybe we still have time, said Michael. The competition will last 2 more days. We can update our model. Alex nodded. Yes, we need to expand our data set. We should add examples from different cultures. During the lunch break, Catherine went to the main dining area instead of using the VIP dining room reserved for her. While waiting in line with her tray, MIT team members, Sarah and Alex, stood behind her. Dr. Walker, Sarah said hesitantly, I wanted to apologize for what happened at the entrance this morning. Catherine smiled. It's no problem, Sarah. Am I remembering correctly? Yes, said Sarah, surprised. You remembered me? I have a good memory, Catherine replied. Plus, I saw your project. Your artificial intelligence algorithm for predicting emotional responses is impressive. I hope you take my question about cultural differences seriously. It's not just a criticism, but a real opportunity for improvement. Alex stepped forward. Absolutely, Dr. Walker. We're currently working to update our model, but I was wondering, why do you, I mean, why do I dress so simply? Catherine completed the sentence, smiling. Because comfort is important to me, and maybe also a bit to see people's reactions. They sat at a table and Catherine began to explain. I grew up in a small town in North Dakota. My father was a farmer, my mother an elementary school teacher. My interest in computers began at a very young age, but there were no computers in our town. I bought my first computer with money I saved working in a neighbor's field all summer. Sarah and Alex listened attentively. Michael had also joined them and was part of the conversation. I entered MIT on a scholarship, Catherine continued. There, many students saw me as a country girl. Some were mocking, some openly condescending. They judged me by my appearance, my accent, and my cheap clothes. What did you do? Asked Sarah, feeling that she had experienced similar challenges as a woman in the technology field. I worked, said Catherine simply. I had to work harder than others to prove my abilities. And I realized that these kinds of experiences shaped my character. They made me believe that every idea, no matter where it comes from, deserves to be evaluated. Alex nodded thoughtfully. You continued to dress simply even after founding Quantum AI Labs. Catherine laughed. Yes. When my company reached $1 billion valuation, my board members asked me to dress more professionally. I told them that a person's value should be measured by their ideas and actions, not their clothes. But still, said Michael, as a woman in the technology world, especially in a high-level position, it must be difficult to be constantly judged by your appearance. Catherine thought for a moment. Of course it's difficult, but this is my choice, to use the power and influence I have to question the status quo. If my style of dress bothers some people, perhaps they should question their own prejudices, not my clothes. After lunch, the competition continued. As the day progressed, word of who Catherine was spread among all participants. Now those who encountered her approached her with great respect despite her simple clothes. Even Jason had overcome his embarrassment from their first encounter and greeted Dr. Walker with sincere respect whenever he saw her. In the evening, the jury room was prepared for the evaluation meeting. All jury members, respected academics, leaders of technology giants, and field experts gathered around a large table. Catherine presided over the meeting. "I'd like to hear your thoughts about the projects we saw today," said Catherine. "But first, let me remind you of our judging criteria. We evaluate not just technical excellence, but also innovative thinking, creativity, and potential impact." The jury members shared their views in turn. Projects from prestigious universities like MIT, Stanford, and Caltech stood out, as expected. Dr. Emily Roberts from MIT praised Alex's team's emotional analysis system. Dr. James Lee from Google's Artificial Intelligence Department mentioned that he found Stanford's autonomous drone system impressive. Then Catherine asked, "Did you notice that stand in the corner? The team from Idaho State University?" Several jury members looked at each other. Idaho State was not a well-known school in the technology field. Some shrugged, others shook their heads. "Their stand was quite modest," Catherine continued. "Three students developed a project with a limited budget. Their robot wasn't as flashy as others, but their algorithm, a completely original approach." Dr. James Lee admitted, "I didn't notice them." "Their stand wasn't in the main corridor, was it?" "No," said Catherine. "It was in the corner. They had very few visitors." She pulled several papers from her file. "Look, this algorithm completely reinterprets traditional machine learning approaches. It offers a very elegant solution to the memory problems faced by classic deep learning models." The jury members began to examine the papers. Gradually, expressions of surprise appeared on their faces. "This is quite impressive," said Dr. Emily Roberts from MIT. "How did it attract so little attention?" "Because their stand wasn't flashy," Catherine answered. "Because the students weren't wearing expensive suits or giving striking presentations. Because Idaho State isn't considered elite in the field of robotics." Dr. Marcus Chen from Stanford objected, "But we evaluate projects by their technical qualities, not by the names of universities." Catherine shook her head. "Do we, Dr. Chen? Then why didn't any of us notice this project? Why weren't we queuing up to visit the Idaho State stand?" There was a thoughtful silence in the room. "You may wonder why I'm sharing this," Catherine continued, "because the incident at the door today reminded me of my own experiences. There is still a lot of prejudice in the world of science and technology. We judge people by their titles, clothes, or the institutions they come from. And these judgments cause us to miss potentially revolutionary ideas." The jury members nodded thoughtfully. They were all respected experts in their fields, but Catherine's words had pushed them to question their own assumptions. "As we make our decision in this competition," Catherine concluded, "I suggest we look not just at the most brightly shining projects, but also at projects that harbor truly innovative thinking. Sometimes the most valuable ideas come from the most unexpected places." The second day of the competition, teams continued to develop their projects. The MIT team had taken Dr. Walker's feedback seriously and was working to update their emotional analysis system to include different cultures. "Emotional expressions in Asian cultures may be more measured," Sarah explained as she reprogrammed the algorithm. "Our model wasn't capturing these nuances." Alex and Michael were also working on new data sets. All three could see how Dr. Walker's suggestion was improving their project. Meanwhile, the Idaho State team continued to work quietly in their corner. Team leader Jessica Rivera was a 22-year-old Mexican-American. With her were Tyler Johnson and Amir Khan. All three were on scholarships and had to raise donations to participate in the competition. Catherine made time to specifically visit their stand. "Could you tell me more about your algorithm?" she asked. Jessica began to explain excitedly. "Traditional deep learning models require enormous computational power for training on large data sets. We have developed a system that more closely mimics the working principles of biological neurons. Our model can learn with much less data and much less energy by mimicking how the human brain works." Catherine took notes as she carefully listened to Jessica's explanation. "This approach could be a breakthrough in the field of neuromorphic computing. How did you come up with this?" "Actually out of necessity," Jessica laughed. Our school doesn't have supercomputers to process large data sets, so we had to find a more efficient way. Catherine nodded. That is the very essence of true innovation. Constraints trigger creativity. As the second day of the competition ended, the jury gathered again. This time, the discussion was more lively. Idaho State's project was now at the center of the conversation. I examined their algorithm more closely, said Dr. James Lee. What they've accomplished with limited resources is truly impressive. This approach could be revolutionary for artificial intelligence applications on low-power devices. Dr. Emily Roberts nodded. I agree. However, the MIT team's emotional analysis system is also very powerful. The updates they made to include cultural nuances have made their system much more useful in real-world applications. The discussion continued for hours. The jury members analyzed each project in depth, evaluating strengths and weaknesses. On the final day of the competition, all participants and guests gathered in the main hall for the awards ceremony. The stage was elaborately arranged. Moments from the competition were shown on large screens. The excitement was almost tangible. Dr. Robert Stevens took the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, I am proud to announce the winners of this year's International Robotics and Artificial Intelligence competition. Applause rose from the hall. Students could barely contain their excitement. In third place, the Neurotech team from Stanford University. The Stanford team enthusiastically took the stage, wearing team t-shirts with their prestigious university's logo. Dr. Marcus Chen, the professor mentoring them, watched his team with a proud smile. In second place, the AI Pioneers team from MIT. Sarah, Alex, and Michael looked at each other in surprise and joy. Then they went on stage, receiving their awards with pride and excitement. Sarah approached the microphone. Thank you so much for this award. We are especially grateful to Dr. Walker for her valuable feedback on cultural diversity. This made our project much better. Dr. Walker nodded, smiling from the front row. And in first place, Dr. Stevens opened the envelope, a slight surprise appearing on his face. The Rural Innovators team from Idaho State University. There was first a silence in the hall, then murmurs of surprise. The three students with the modest stand in the corner, Jessica, Tyler, and Amir, looked at each other in shock. They slowly stood up and made their way to the stage. All three were wearing simple jeans and university t-shirts. Jessica approached the microphone. Her hands were trembling, her eyes were teary. This is an incredible honor. We're just a small team working with limited resources. We never expected to receive this award. Then she continued emotionally. I come from a small town in Idaho. My family farms. They don't understand my passion for computer science, but they've always supported me. This award is not just for me, but for everyone who doesn't come from big schools, who doesn't have big names, but who has big dreams. Catherine came on stage and presented the first place award. Your algorithm has the potential to open a new page in the field of artificial intelligence. This is the triumph of innovative thinking, not elegance or prestige. As Jessica, Tyler, and Amir received their awards, the hall gave them a standing ovation. One of the loudest to applaud was Jason, the security guard at the door, now with an expression of genuine appreciation rather than embarrassment on his face. At the reception after the ceremony, Catherine was talking with the Idaho State team in a corner. Sarah, Alex, and Michael approached them. Congratulations, said Sarah sincerely, extending her hand to Jessica. Your algorithm is truly impressive. Thank you, said Jessica, shaking hands. Your emotional analysis system is also amazing. Maybe we can collaborate someday. Alex nodded. We would love that. Perhaps we could combine our different approaches. Tyler, a member of the Idaho State team, added, From the beginning, no one took us seriously. Teams from big universities just ignored us as they passed by our stand. I know how that feels, said Catherine, but there's an important lesson here today. True innovation doesn't come from unlimited resources or prestigious institutions, but from passion and original thinking. Alex nodded. Dr. Walker, this competition taught me a lot, not just about robotics, but about people too. Catherine smiled. That is the most valuable award for me. Toward the end of the reception, Jason approached Catherine shyly. Dr. Walker, I want to apologize for what happened at the door on the first day." Catherine nodded understandingly. "What matters is what you learn from this experience, Jason." "I learned not to judge people by their appearance," Jason said sincerely. "The other day, when members of the Idaho State team were trying to enter through the side door, I showed them the right entrance and listened to their project. Maybe this small gesture played a part in them winning first place." Catherine's eyes sparkled. "That's it, Jason. Sometimes even the smallest gestures can make big differences." Jason hesitated for a moment, then continued. "Also, I'm a computer science student, and I've been very impressed by your work. After this competition, I'm thinking of starting a research project on neuromorphic computing." Idaho State's approach inspired me. "That's a great idea," said Catherine. "And if you need help, you can email me. I always try to support young researchers." Jason's eyes widened. "Really? That would be, that would be incredible, Dr. Walker. Thank you so much." Catherine smiled. "You're welcome. And Jason, don't blame yourself too much for judging me by my clothes. We all have biases. What's important is to recognize them and work to overcome them." The next day, the Boston Globe newspaper headline read, "Simply Dressed AI Genius Changes Competition." The article described Catherine's experience at the door and Idaho State team's unexpected victory. The final paragraph ended with these words from Catherine. "In the technology world, there is still a lot of prejudice. We judge people by their titles, clothes, or the institutions they come from. But true innovation comes from the ability to think outside the box. And sometimes the brightest ideas come in the most unexpected packages." Next to the article was a photograph of Catherine giving the first place award to the Idaho State team in her blue jeans and gray cardigan. The caption read, "Dr. Catherine Walker, pioneer of the artificial intelligence revolution and billionaire founder of Quantum AI Labs, demonstrates the power of simplicity and innovative thinking." The story resonated widely in the technology world. Many large companies began to review their hiring processes. Universities strengthened their diversity and inclusion policies. And at the next year's robotics competition, there was more diversity among participants. Many teams from small, lesser-known institutions participated alongside those from large, prestigious schools. The Idaho State team continued their work with the research grant that came with the first prize. Jessica Rivera received a full scholarship offer from MIT to pursue a doctorate in neuromorphic computing. She would be working in Dr. Emily Roberts' lab. The MIT team also continued their success. Their emotional analysis system, with its structure that takes cultural diversity into account, began to be used in the healthcare sector. Sarah, Alex, and Michael started their own startup after graduation and collaborated with Jessica's team. Jason Morris worked on neuromorphic computing for his senior project and received mentorship from Dr. Walker. After graduation, he started working at Quantum AI Labs. For Catherine Walker, this competition was not just another professional achievement, but a validation of a principle she had advocated throughout her career. True value lies not in external appearance, but in the ideas and talents within. A year later, Catherine was again at the Boston Technology Center, this time to give the opening speech of the competition. She was still wearing blue jeans and a gray cardigan, but now no one was surprised by this. On the contrary, many young female students wore similar simple clothes to show their respect to her. In her speech, Catherine said, "At last year's competition, I had to introduce myself to a door attendant. This incident gave us all a valuable lesson, the danger of judging people by their appearance. But perhaps a more important lesson is that we can never predict where innovation might come from. Big ideas don't have to come from big universities, big companies, big budgets. Sometimes the biggest ideas come from the most modest environments, from a small town, from a team working with limited resources, or from a simply dressed woman." Applause rose in the hall. In the front row, Jessica Rivera and the MIT team sat side by side, now friends. Jason Morris, with the Quantum AI Labs badge on his chest, listened with a proud smile. And throughout the hall, people of all ages, from all walks of life, from all backgrounds, absorbed Catherine Walker's simple but powerful message. Look beyond appearance. See the true value. What did you learn from this story? Have you ever judged someone by their appearance? Or perhaps you were judged. Share your experiences in the comments. If you like this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications. We'll be back every week with similar inspiring stories. Where are you watching from today? Let us know in the comments section. Remember, true innovation comes from the courage to think outside the box.